Members of the media, thank you for joining us for today's Zoom press conference with West Virginia head men's basketball coach Josh Eilert. We will start with an opening statement from Coach Eilert. Coach, we'll turn it over to you.
Very good. Thanks, Mike. Just want to give you an update since Saturday in Ohio State. We took the opportunity to take a couple days off, and get our legs under us before we started prep for Houston. So we gave them the holiday off, Sunday, and then the holiday, and then we're in the middle of 4 straight days of prep here for Houston. So last couple of days we went hard and gave everything very, very competitive practice the last couple of days. Now we'll try to back it off a little bit, knowing we got an early game on Saturday in Houston, and we won't have a shoot around on Saturday morning. And, so we'll travel down to Houston tomorrow, early afternoon and practice there on their court and get ready to go compete against a very, very good Houston team and a very physical team that is going to present a lot of challenges, but we're looking forward to taking on that challenge.
Okay, thank you, Coach. Our first question comes from Greg Hunter.
So, Josh, but now vast majority of your losses have come in very close games that come down to the final minute, final seconds. How do you get over the top in close games? What's the difference?
I think it's a lot of it's just closing out possessions. There's so many things that we can control down the stretch that discipline things, in the final minutes that can be the difference in the game, whether it be rebounding at the foul line, whether it be getting a good shot when you really need one instead of a forced shot, on the fly when you're not coming out of a timeout or such. So there's a lot of things in the game of basketball, a lot of it's a game of inches in so many ways. So what you can control, you need to control. And we like to analyze a lot of these things, especially in the last 3-4 minutes of each game, and really try to educate as to what we can control and try to, fix those things. So when it comes down to, a possession battle down the stretch, you come out on top.
You mentioned rebounding there. Obviously Saturday in Cleveland, very bad early, much better the second half. Did you see something in the second half that helped it? Something you did really bad the first half? What was the difference?
It shouldn't be this way. It typically is in the game of basketball, but we seem to be rebounding a little better in the zone than we have in the main. And I've studied a lot of the lineup combinations and even kind of, I guess, challenged our starting 5. They're probably one of the bottom 2 lineup combinations that I've used in the past 3 games. When you look at our roster is the way it is, you kind of examine the last 3 games. And they're not that starting 5 unit probably isn't is one of the bottom 2 rebounding units. Now they do a lot of other good things for you offensively, but they don't necessarily rebound the ball as well as they should. So that's probably the unit that's on the floor the most during the course of a game. And I had that conversation with those guys yesterday. We need more production, especially from the rebounding side of things from that starting 5.
Our next question goes to John Antonik.
Josh, I'm looking at a lot of their numbers here, and they've got a lot that are really concerning. Is it a matter of talking to your guys about don't get frustrated because they're so good defensively, and I think only 2 teams have given up 60. They've only given up 66 twice this year. Other than that, they've been really nobody's got much from them at all.
Yeah, I mean, some of it you got to take into account, and they are a very, very good defensive team. Some of it's you got to look at who they're playing, and sometimes as coaches you kind of separate those, the Power 5 teams, and Power 5 matchups from, and kind of filter out the rest of them when you analyze these things. But they are, don't get me wrong, they're an incredibly good defensive team and a very, very physical team. And, you look at the numbers and you examine them, points off turnovers and second chance points. It's like 37 points a game between those 2 categories. So, you know, if we can take care of the ball, obviously we can take care of the ball. And, you know, if you're going to have a turnover, make sure it's not a live ball turnover by any means so we can get our defense set. They got weapons in the half court offensively for sure, but they're at their best when they turn people over and go downhill. And you know, in the half court, they're at the best, you know, getting second chances.
Is Kelvin using Crowder the same way Scott did at Baylor? I mean, I see his three-point numbers is about similar.
Yeah, he's certainly by far their best offensive option. So he can't get any airspace whatsoever. So we got to know where he's at all times, regardless of whatever defense we're in.
Thanks.
Members of the media, please use the raised hand feature for your question. We'll go back to Greg Hunter.
So, Josh, in terms of Raekwon, obviously twice in the last since he got back in the lineup, he's gotten Player of the Week in the Big 12, giving you exactly what you thought you'd get out of him. Does he even have more that he can do? What's your thoughts with Raekwon?
No, he's got more. I mean, he's a very coachable young man. And what makes him, you know, he's a great person, great teammate. He wants to do everything he can for us to win. So he'd be very happy if he scored, you know, 5 points and we got to win. That's the type of person he is. That's the type of teammate he is. So he's open to figure out what it is we need of him. We've had conversations with him. He's very athletic and he can recover really well on the defensive end, but sometimes he can jump out of position just because, you know, he's taking chances and bouncing side to side. So he can certainly do more for us defensively, create, you know, more havoc and he's very good with anticipation in terms of running through, you know, passing lanes. So we can get more of that out of him, but we can also use him, you know, more as a decoy from time to time because teams are going to key on him. They're going to key heavily on him. So he should be drawing their best defender each and every night, which is going to open other guys up. Like I said, you know, Raekwon's going to do whatever Raekwon can do to help us win. That's the type of kid he is, and he's a coachable young man, and I'm excited to continue to work with him.
Then can you also give us an update on Jesse's health? How's he coming along?
Believe today they're taking that cast off today, from what I'm understood. My understanding is that it's coming off today, and then they'll have to do some imaging here in the coming weeks to figure out how well it healed. So don't know anything more than that. So not sure where it's going to land. So hopefully everything's, you know, smooth sailing and we can have him back here in a couple of weeks.
Kevin Kinder.
Plus, we got a brief mention of Pat Sumnick's contributions in the Ohio State game. Is that more along the lines of what you need to get from him? And is a reasonable goal like, you know, 8 points, 5-6 rebounds a game? Does that get you a little bit of that additional production you're wanting?
Yeah, it's 100% what I kind of expected out of Pat, you know, from day one this season. So, you know, every time, you know, he steps, you know, on the floor and gets a little more time, a little more confidence, I think it's going to be to his benefit and to our benefit. And so that the second half he had against Ohio State was huge, going 4 for 4 from the field, getting us 8 points, and even got the game tying bucket there late in regulation. So that's gotta go a long ways with him and our program and our trust in him. But you know, he's one of the biggest, strongest guy on the floor, but he's going to be critical to our success coming up in the game against Houston because of how physical they play. And from our standpoint, he's got to bring that same physicality to them, and so we can match it head on.
And then one thing on Kerr, it seemed like he had the best synergy early on with Jesse, that their games kind of meshed, the way Kerr delivers the ball above the rim and things like that. Is that something that your other bigs can kind of develop a little bit, or is that just something, you know, special in the way Jesse and Kerr's games kind of mesh with each other?
You're talking to Kerr?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they got a special connection because the way Kerr can deliver that ball. Yeah. So I think some of the other bigs, they don't play the same way. a Cook can be a rim run threat. And like I believe going into that game, we repped a lot just between those two, that connection. So no, it'll be nice to put those guys in the correct position, because a Cook really isn't a 5-man. He's a 4-man and stretch 4 that's can really give you a lot of give you a lot on the defensive end, but he's not going to give you that low post threat where you can throw it down close and get an easy bucket. He's a stretch 4 by nature. He's just doing everything he can to help us in a situation. So he's buying us minutes at the 5. Pat's kind of the same way. He's more of a stretch 4 himself, and probably leans closer to the 5 than a Cook. And he's giving us everything he can, given the situation we're in. So we're kind of putting band-aids on these things and trying to heal up as in the process.
John Antoni.
Yeah, I have a couple more here on Houston. You mentioned some of the games that you were studying. I'm assuming Utah, Xavier, Texas A&M are 3 that you studied pretty closely. Any commonality you see there with the way Houston played against those 3 teams?
Yeah, I mean, look at how physical they were. I mean, the Texas A&M game for sure was one of the most physical games I've seen all year on film. And so, especially going into these games, you worry about how they're going to be called. For us, that's going to be critical. I said it going into the UMass game, what as physical as they are, it just depends on how the game's called. If it's called, if they let things go early and that's the precedent they set, then it's going to be to their benefit. But go ahead.
I noticed here too, looking down their line, every single guy they have on the floor is capable of offensive rebounding, including Cryer. You look at some of these offensive, they got 209 overall. That's got to be a huge concern for you.
Yeah, a huge concern. I mean, certainly it's concern no matter who we play. I've brought that up before we even played a game. Defensive rebounding is going to be an issue. I said it this summer, I think, in the first media session. Our guys had put it as part of their team goals. So they knew it was important to me, and they knew it was something that I saw as a weakness of ours, and it's something we continue to try to shore up. So we have our challenges. We're not stepping away from those. We're meeting them head on, but we brought in Jesse Edwards to rebound the basketball, and there was a lot of pressure on him early in those games to shore up our rebounding. Now we don't have him, so there's even more pressure on everybody in the program to pull their weight on the defensive end. Finishing possessions.
Their style is to try to get it to the glass, right, and then score off that. Is that what they try to do, basically?
Yeah, and going back to the Ohio State game, something we can shore up the most. I told those guys coming out of that first practice coming back, the one glaring thing against Ohio State, they continue to get middle drives on us. They continue to get paint touches, and we all know, studying the game of basketball, if people get paint touches and they break your defense down to the middle of the floor, it opens everything up. And so we just got to do a much better job of staying in front of guys and what we say, guard your yard, be true to who you're guarding and keep them out of the paint and force baseline where your help is. So we can do a heck of a lot better job. And if I could say one thing that was a difference maker in that entire game was keeping guys out of the middle of the floor.
I guess taking the guards, moving them east-west instead of north-south.
Well, you want to send them baseline, send them
Okay.
baseline where your help is. And if you're closing out on a wing, you want to close out on the high side, send them baseline. You don't want them going to the middle of the floor and getting a paint touch and where everything kind of breaks down.
Our next question goes to Justin Jackson.
Hey, good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Justin?
Good. Hey, another one on Raekwon here. I was just kind of thinking earlier, to like the casual college basketball observer, you're talking about a kid who basically looks like he came off the street and started scoring, 27 points a game for you. Obviously, that's not the case. He's practiced, he's worked out even when he wasn't playing. But What is there to be said though for the kid in his situation where he hadn't played, he's kind of coming in cold, and you being an analytical guy, he comes in and he's scoring 20-some points a game, and from an analytical standpoint, how much can you count on that moving forward, and how much has his scoring maybe kind of adjusted your analytics, I guess, a little bit?
We plan on having Ray from day one, so everything we did had Ray as part of the plan. Some of the things we plan on running and targeted is running, through the preseason we didn't really get to because we didn't have that type of player out on the floor. Noah's probably the more unique situation, knowing that he wasn't going to play. We never planned for him whatsoever. So putting those three between Kerr, Noah, and Ray on the floor has been the biggest challenge, is to figure out how we become a very, very balanced attack, because our guard play and our get as good a guard play as anybody right now, and we're just trying to shore up from an analytical standpoint how can we be effective as a team and try not to be so one-sided sometimes. So teams are going to key on Raekwon. They're going to do everything they can to take him away. And that's where we got to find some secondary actions, go to our secondary actions that gets everybody else involved.
Mike Kazaza.
Hey, Josh, how are you?
Yeah, Mike.
Question on Quinn. I was looking at just his scoring numbers, and just out of curiosity, figuring with all those guards coming in, that naturally somebody's productivity is going to slip. And I figured it might have been him, but then I was looking at it, and his shot volume is about the same. He's rebounded well. He's had assists pretty consistently. I don't know if he's been affected or if he hasn't been affected. If he's been better than maybe meets the eye, or if he's been pretty steady and hasn't really changed the way he's played or been made to change. I guess this part one is what have you seen from him as things have changed around him?
I think his shot a little bit. I wouldn't say he's in a slump by any means. I'd have to really study the numbers in the last few games, but he hadn't been the same. He hadn't had the same comfort level on a shot. Yesterday in practice, I think he even mentioned to me, it's like, coach, I got it back. Feels good. Like, I think he was trying to aim it, so to speak. So sometimes as shooters and guys can get in their own head, but he didn't 100% shoot it with that type of confidence that he was shooting it early. And we need to get him back into the fold, and he'll be a vital part of our offensive strategy moving forward. And guys go through, it's a roller coaster sometimes during the course of the season. And it certainly has been for us. We haven't built that chemistry that most every other team's building late in the summer, even on their foreign tours. We're finally getting all of our guys together to start building the chemistry. So so we've taken our lumps in the process and lost some close games, and consequently, we're 5-8. But regardless, we're getting closer to having everybody back in the fold and building that chemistry, and hopefully we're starting to get closer to peak West Virginia basketball, what we're capable of when it comes conference play. So it's a new season for us, and we're looking forward to that.
And then one more on Raekwon, if you don't mind. He's not there to really hand the ball out and distribute. You're talking about teams keying on him a little bit. He's getting a lot of shots, scoring a lot of points. I get it, that's his job, but does it sound like he needs to use the attention to, I don't know, swing the ball and get more assists? I think he has 2 assists so far, but again, I understand that's not his job. But is there growth in that area? Is that kind of part of what you're talking about?
For us, our biggest thing, top to bottom, we analyze our offense is shot selection. We need to figure out how we generate more uncontested shots. So many of our shots are really tough shots, and Raekwon can make really tough shots. Noah can make really tough shots. But as a team, we need to find out how we generate more uncontested shots. We need to find out how we generate more, just like Houston generates 38 points, whether it be off turnovers and second chance points. We need to find out how we get some easy buckets. We can't go into all these games thinking that we're going to outscore people taking hard shots in the half court night in, night out. So we got to find from a a team perspective and coaching staff, how do we generate some easier buckets, and whether it be in the half court, whether, you know, we need to pass up some shots, or we talk all the time about, you know, so we score early in transition or we score late. Let's not take a, you know, what we consider an A, B, or C shot. Let's not take a C shot when we can get a B shot late in the clock, you know, when we grade out some of these shots. So we just need to be more mindful of that. And it's going to come with time. You know, these guys are finally just getting a chance to play together, and you know, we're 3 games in, and here in 3 or 4 more games, we'll have Jesse back in the fold, and we'll be a different team then too. So it's something we got to manage as we move forward.
Any other questions for Coach Eilert? Please use the raised hand feature. Coach, that's all we have for today. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.